What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. In today's video, we're going to go over the most important stocks to watch for this week, some important news, and just some good plays in the market right now. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day. But Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, for sure. And this week, we're actually going to have some inflation data coming out on Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to have the CPI data and the producer price index released Wednesday and Thursday, respectively. This should actually show an insight on the pace of inflation right now. You know, the markets are at all-time highs. Powell said that they're pretty much, they've talked about tapering asset purchasing programs and tapering their bond buying, but they have not done so yet. And they said raising interest rates was off the table right now. So that's a big thing for the Fed to say. And honestly, this data should give us an insight on how inflation's going, but don't really expect it to, make the markets fly up or fly down. If anything, make them almost expect the markets to go up with the way Powell and them have been talking lately. But definitely just keep it on the radar. Inflation's always a pretty big thing, especially right now while inflation's a little bit higher, but expect it to come in higher. They're expecting higher inflation for the next couple months.
For sure. And then, Tom, I know that we're slowly making progress with that infrastructure deal. What's going on there?
We are actually slowly building some bridges, and the deal's going pretty well so far, but it is taking a long time to get passed. They're saying on CNBC that a few Republicans are trying to drag out some of these final votes right now, but it says that the measure would provide what Biden calls a historic investment in the public works programs, from roads and bridges to broadband internet access, drinking water, and more. In a rare stroke of bipartisanship, Republicans joined Democrats to advance the measure, and more votes are expected today. If approved, the bill will end up going to the House of Representatives, where obviously it'll get voted on and then get sent to Biden, where he can go ahead and sign off. But man, I know that they were talking about this infrastructure bill possibly including, some EV stuff for charging stations like ChargePoint. It could really help CHPT, possibly Blink charging. And then also, Caterpillar and those types of companies will probably do pretty well once this bill gets passed.
For sure. So definitely keep an eye on that. And then, Tom, I know we had a bunch of huge earnings over the past couple weeks. What top earnings plays do we have for this week?
Yeah, we are kind of winding down. We're getting to the end of that kind of like earnings season, but we still have a lot to cover this week, even though we're kind of getting to the end here. On Monday, we have BioNTech, however you want to say it. They're actually a pretty big company. Watch out for them. Workhorse is going to be pretty big. Barrick Gold, I know lots of people have been looking into them. AMC on Monday after close, that's going to be big. Callaway Golf, they own Top Golf, which is a pretty big thing. Tuesday, we have Fubo, Coinbase, Upstart, Unity. So honestly, we have a lot of those, like not the big like powerhouse stocks like Apple and Tesla, but we have a lot of these smaller companies reporting, and some of these could move honestly a lot more than how Tesla and those other ones moved, especially like Blink on Wednesday. We have eBay, NIO, Disney on Thursday. So there's just a whole lot this week.
Absolutely. So I would say I'm definitely going to watch that AMC earnings report tomorrow after close. I'll definitely also watch Coinbase, Upstart, and Disney and Neo too. So it should be exciting. Definitely keep an eye on all of these stocks. Tom, do you have any last minute news or anything before we get right into the member of the day?
There wasn't too much other news. The big thing I think for the next couple of weeks is going to be how these job reports go, and then how also this infrastructure bill goes with getting passed. And hopefully we can see some, see it maybe get passed over the next week or two. And like I said, I think that'll really help Caterpillar and a couple of these other stocks.
Sounds great. So let's get right into our member of the day, and that is Darius88. So huge shout out to Darius88 on YouTube. He's always commenting just great things. So thank you so much, Darius. Comments really help us out, really helps us grow the channel. So thank you so much, and huge shout out to you. And then, Tom, let's get right into these momentum plays. And with the first one, we have AMD to the downside.
Yeah, AMD's actually been moving pretty largely to the downside, and go ahead and make them fall right below 100, and I would say like 109.50. They fell below 110 on Friday at close, so just look for 109.50.
All right, with the next one, we have Peloton to the downside.
Yep, another stock falling here, make them fall below 112.50. If they break that in pre-market, look at 112.
All right, and then with the last one, we have CCL to the upside.
Yep, Carnival Cruise Lines, they killed it last week. Make them break out above 23.15.
All right, so we are watching AMD and Peloton for potential day trades to the downside, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. We are watching CCL for a potential day trade to the upside, only if it breaks above the level Tom listed. But now let's get right into the $5.3 million options trade for this Friday. We are looking at the Tesla 750 strike calls that expire on August 13th, and there was around 5.3 million put into them. I'm definitely going to say the smart money is shorting these calls because they're weekly calls and they're over $50 out of the money.
Yeah, that's actually pretty far away for Tesla there. And I'll be honest, Tesla's still below that bright blue trend line that's been on my chart for a long time now. It really looked like whenever we passed 700 with Tesla, like we might see a couple good candles, like we'd actually finally break this trend line, push up through up above like 725 and have a nice, recovery maybe up to 800. But man, at the end of the week last week, Tesla really turned over. I would have to say they're shorting this as well. That 750 strike is pretty far away. And while Tesla could hit that, just with how volatile they are, I don't think that they will next week by any means. And just looking at the way they turned over on Friday, just not looking good in the short term.
All right, and then let's get right into the questions from the previous episode, and then we have N saying, "Can you give your thoughts on Beyond?" So let's take a look. BYND. This stock has been just consolidating for the past year. You could say between like $100 and like 200. Lots of ups and downs. Right now, it looks like it's bouncing pretty well off that support at 120. They just reported earnings. I think it looks pretty good overall. Of course, it's not my favorite stock in the world, but I think it's pretty good overall.
Yeah, I think it'll be decent for the longer term. In the shorter term with Beyond, anything can happen. Sometimes we've seen them report terrible earnings and have weird gap downs. We've seen them report earnings and end up flying up. And, we've just seen really big movements with them. But I would say for the longer term, the industry that they're in and everything should end up doing pretty good. So I like them. And I will say I like them how they're kind of like at this like 120 support. I think it's a pretty good time to grab shares for the long term. Not the best, but it's definitely at a good support right now. Below this, I would look for $100 even.
All right. And then with the next comment, we have Reyes saying, sold the AMD 115 strike credit spreads at the highs for Friday. I like Apple to the upside. Got me some $152.50 calls for 813. Fairly cheap, but I like the potential. So I really, really like the idea of that AMD call credit spread. I think that's going to be awesome. And then looking at Apple, I mean, personally, I'm a little more biased on Apple to the downside over the next couple months, but it is a powerhouse and it definitely can pop.
Yeah, it can. And it almost reminds me of AMD's setup. Both stocks kind of ran up lately and they broke out of their like all-time highs and had a little bit of a move back up above there. And we'll just have to see how this sector ends up going. Like we could end up breaking out, but I'm with Mike. I think that it looks more of like we're going to end up going down, especially like just over the next couple months. Like we're not saying that, we're going to be going down for a year or anything, just for like a short-term downturn.
Yeah, so I know that he did mention he had the $152.50 calls for this Friday. So I just checked the probability on those, and there's around a 94.67 chance those options expire worthless. So obviously the odds aren't in the favor, mainly because they're so far out of the money and they're a weekly. So of course they can pop, but statistically speaking, most likely they won't get to that strike price. And then we have Daniel saying, love how you all kept ASTR on the radar. Hope to join you all in the morning. So ASTR, I know a bunch of people are talking about this one, Tom. I know it's a space stock, and it has a good amount of momentum. Like it exploded on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, and I was actually looking into them, and it's a very interesting company. They're actually developing like rockets, almost like SpaceX has and stuff like that. And it's actually a really like a lot of times, a lot of these stocks, you'll hear about them, and they're just like little like rumor stocks, almost kind of like Nikola Motors was like in the beginning. And a lot of these like EV stocks haven't really started production yet or anything. And ASTR has honestly done a lot of stuff. So keep your eyes on them. I think they could be a very interesting stock over the next couple months, especially as they kind of like get into launching this Space Force satellite over the next few weeks.
All right, and then we have Mr. Cool Millie saying SAVA to the moon. All right, looking at SAVA, it is popping very, very well. Like it's like a pretty nice slow and steady uptrend over like the past year. However, in the past month, it has been all over the place. It went up from like 110 down to like, what is that, 75, up to 146, down to like 65. Now it's back at 100. So it's way too volatile for me for the short term, but it looks pretty solid for just a long term technical basis, I guess you can say.
Yeah, it could be good for the long term. For the short term, it looks like they hit off that $100 resistance. I would say like for the short term, it could go either way. Like Mike said, it's very volatile. You have really big moves with this one. But for the longer term, I think it'll be decent. But like we said though, in the short term, it's just going to be so risky that it's just like not one of our favorite stocks. We generally stick to some of the safer ones, but that doesn't mean it's a bad stock by any means.
Yeah, and then guys, don't forget, if you want to trade with Tom and myself every single day and the bots, you can click that first link in the description down below. Daily options, swing trades, day trades, order flow bots, a bunch of different custom bots. Definitely check it out. It's that first link in the description down below. Daily swing trades and day trades and access to all the bots. You can cancel at any time. But Tom, do you have any last minute stocks you're watching or any news for this upcoming week?
Man, just looking forward, I think that it's going to be a really interesting week for the bank sector. Like going ahead and looking at stocks like Bank of America, JP Morgan, and some of these others, they actually had a pretty good Friday, posting pretty good green candles. Bank of America up 3%, following on this blue trend line on the daily chart. Honestly, looks like we might see another pop up next week. JP Morgan honestly looks really solid heading into this week too. So I'll have these banks definitely on my radar. And it's interesting that the banks are going up right after Powell came out and started talking about the Fed's not looking to raise rates anytime soon and everything like that. And I know that some rates can go up on their own, but it's always good to hear like that the Fed might raise them. I think the banks honestly wanted to hear that. So it's kind of strange for me to see the banks going up after he says this, but we'll definitely have to see how they end up moving with that inflation data coming out later in the week. But I really love these setups on banks. I think that they could definitely come up, and like JP Morgan could retest 160 pretty good.
Sounds good. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Like I said, if you want to trade with the bots, Tom and myself every single day, you can click that first link in the description down below. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget to join Tom and I live every single day at Market Open on the new Stocked Up Live channel. The link for that is also in the description down below. Other than that, thanks for watching.